Hey, everybody, this is Harvey Sonny Wasserman back for another session of the Green Grassroots Emergency Election Protection Coalition Zoom call, otherwise known as Greep. I got to say, this is about as sad a moment as we've had. We've been going for almost 6 years now. We're going to get reports from Dr. Melissa Bird in Oregon and a HEDY TRIPP in Minnesota. But first, we are privileged to be joined by Congresswoman ADELITA GRIJALVA. Congresswoman, Representative Grijalva, are you with us? We're going to be covering the whole 9 yards of the disaster of the Trumpitis epidemic that we're facing now. And in the first hour, we're going to go into the deep depths of everything that we've seen all around us, especially in Minnesota, but also Oregon and elsewhere. And we are, as I say, privileged to be joined by US Representative Grijalva from Arizona.
Hi,
And then,
Sunny. Can you hear
uh,
me okay?
yes, oh, hi, Adelita.
Great.
So
Hi.
wonderful to have you with us. And we're hoping to be joined by Joel Siegel, who knew your father very well and want to wish you the best. Then in the second hour, we're going to be joined by people from Ukraine, and we're going to talk about the insanely dangerous situation in Ukraine with the 19 atomic reactors now under fire from Putin, with the definite possibility of a major atomic catastrophe. We're looking at death and destruction all around us here in the land of Trump, but in the land of Putin and those 19 reactors, including the four at Chernobyl, we are really, really on the brink of a significant apocalypse. And we will talk about that in the second hour. Representative Grijalva, it's so wonderful to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining us. And you are in the belly of the beast. So what can you tell us is happening? I saw that the normally milquetoast senator from New York, Chuck Schumer, and the slightly less milquetoast senator from my neighborhood here in California, Adam Schiff, have both said that they will not vote in the wake of this latest murder. They will not vote to extend funding for ICE. Representative Grijalva, can you tell us about that?
Sure. I mean, I think that what we're seeing is a shift, and I'm happy to turn on my camera, but right now it says post, it's enabled. So,
Okay,
but
Steve or Mike, when you can turn on the Congresswoman's camera, that'd be great. Go ahead, please.
okay, thank you. So I think that what's really important and what we're seeing right now is that there is a shift happening in even the 7 Democrats that voted in favor of this DHS funding. We're seeing at least 4 of them already say that they regret their vote, which, we wish that would have happened before they voted in favor of it. But I think that when we talk about what's happening now, we're seeing Republican pundits, representatives that have been very supportive of Trump, looking at what the rest of us have been seeing, and hopefully having their eyes opened to this death by execution that's happened twice in as many weeks.
Well, it's utterly horrifying. I just read a report from a Minnesotan named Enrique Saranto, who was abused by the ICE, and MYLA RESON witnessed a horrifying assault separately. MYLA, what was the man's name that was assaulted? You're muted.
I've got it now. Thanks, Harvey. Yeah, I came back from a walk on Saturday
Okay.
morning and I saw a live stream of the protests that followed the execution of Mr. Preddy. And what I witnessed on the live stream, the status quo live stream, was a man named Matthew James Allen, who was at that time pinned down by several of the goons, the Trump's death squads is what I'm calling. And he was
Okay.
shouting out his name and saying that he was a U.S. citizen, that he had done nothing wrong, that he had a passport in X pocket. And then I saw through the live stream, I saw him pepper sprayed in the face. And then I saw him ask for an EMT and an ambulance and that he didn't feel safe. And then I saw a number of the thugs load him up into the back of a pickup and drive away, and then there was no longer a camera. So I don't know what happened to that individual. I'm worried about him. His name is Matthew James Allen. Maybe Hedy might know.
Well, Representative Grijalva, what is going to happen? Thank you for that report, Mara. And thank you, Steve Caruso, for engineering, Mike Hirsch, and Tatanka for convening. Representative Grijalva, what can you tell us that you think will happen next with the Congress?
I do think that we're probably going to have a partial shutdown. We have enough senators that have said that they will not be signing any appropriations bills that have anything to do with funding for DHS. So that is something that we're happy about. I just had a roundtable discussion with Representative Ansari in district in Tolleson, where we were surrounded by representatives, mayors, state, local officials, all talking about getting organized. When I was in Minneapolis about 10 days ago, what we heard very clearly is that they have been very organized. They trained 20,000 observers. They handed out over 100,000 whistles. They are doing everything they can to try to inform their community in real time. And I think that that's the example that we need to take and understand that we have to prepare for what might come in our communities. We can't pretend that, we're not a target or anything like that, because what they've been doing is targeting blue cities. And, Tucson has a mayor that has been very outspoken. Phoenix has a large number of immigrant communities, just like Tucson and CD7 does. So I think we all have to be prepared for what's coming. And so that's the first step. And then I will be joined by ACLU and Marital Metal on February 1st to do a Know Your Rights town hall and kind of training. I think that that's really what we wanted to do was in person, but we cannot put our communities at risk that way. So as much as I would like to be able to be in person, I want to make sure everyone feels safe, and the kinds of, and just informing the community on the kinds of tactics that they're using in Minneapolis and the Twin Cities that, are coming in bits and pieces to our communities, but looking like you're a utility worker, like you're an Amazon delivery person, renting vehicles from, like, let's say a plumber, like a business in your community that has all the insignias and, the name of the business, and using that. I think, putting out blasts to parents saying, hey, do you need food boxes in certain school districts, and then grabbing people when they go to pick up food boxes. So those are the things that we have to let people know are coming, and let them know what their rights are. And unfortunately, what we've seen in Minnesota is, they're just breaking down doors if they're not being open, breaking car windows. In Mesa, one of the representatives there was telling me they're getting down to how do we contact family members when vehicles are left abandoned in the middle of the street, because, families are then being charged like the towing rate. And there's just so many details that we have to work together on to try to provide as much support as possible to our community members.
This is not something those of us who grew up in the United States ever contemplated.
Right.
The people who are doing this, the ICE, Gestapo, the stormtroopers, these are Americans. I mean, they come from other states in the country.
Well, and if you look at the two individuals who, either in the case of Renee Nicole Good or Alex Preddy, they had 8 and 10 years experience in DHS respectively. So when we keep talking about the lack of training, well, these were highly trained individuals according to DHS. And so I think that what they're doing is exactly what they were trained to do, which is cause chaos and fear and division in our communities. And so I don't believe that there's any reforming of DHS. We have to dismantle it and look at really what are the essential functions and go there, because what we have is, CPP in the middle of Minneapolis. What are Customs and Border Patrol agents doing in the middle of Minneapolis? Those are just the kinds of logistics and safeguards I think that any proposal from the Senate that is going to gain traction and hopefully support in the House are going to have those safeguards in there. But I will not be voting for one dime to go to DHS at all.
Well, good for you. We appreciate that. It's mind-boggling. And there's a very large indigenous community
Yeah, I think it's
in
important for us to
Minneapolis.
try to negotiate the safeguards. Yeah, but
My
I'm
question
not going to
is,
vote.
these people hate the indigenous and they hate immigrants. Who does that leave? I mean, really.
Right.
I'm glad you mentioned
Well,
the names of Alex Preddy and Renee Good, two truly wonderful people.
you
I
know what they
want
were
to go.
doing is, oh, sorry. You know what they
No,
were
no,
doing
go,
is they're doing
please.
what I'm asking. They're doing what I'm asking people to do if you have the privilege of being a citizen, if you have the privilege of not living in fear that you're going to be deported, that you speak up and stand up for those who can't. And so many of us have been doing that in our communities, and that's literally what they were doing. So,
Wow.
there's a lot of responsibility we have to one another and to take care of one another. And, in looking at what either of them did in those respective situations, there isn't one thing that I wouldn't have done. It just seems like you're trying to take care of one another. And so I'm
Oh, you froze
we're
on us.
doing with children, you know. Oh, sorry.
No, no, you're
Sorry, can you
great.
see me
You're
okay?
great.
I'm driving back from Tolleson, so I apologize for the shaky camera angles. But it was important for me to join you because I appreciate so much you all
Well,
gathering in community to talk about what we can do.
we truly are honored to have you with us. We have Melissa Bird very quickly from Oregon, please, just to check in with us, and then we can go to HEDY TRIPP in Minnesota. Melissa, you are running for U.S. Congress, so hopefully you and Representative Grijalva will be cohorts soon. And what are people in Oregon doing to prepare? We have 109 people with us, so this is quite a crowd. Go ahead, Melissa, and then Hetty.
Hi, Representative. Thank you so much for being with us today. We too have folks in Portland in particular who are dressing as utility workers, ICE folks who are doing that in Portland as well. The other thing that's happened in Portland just in the last week is we had a bunch of Native drummers, women drumming outside the ICE facility, and there is very chilling video of them while they are drumming being sprayed in the face,
Oh,
pepper spray. And they've also released the nerve agent. I can't remember what it's called, but they've also started doing that with the Portland protesters. And then we have a really significant group of protesters in Eugene who they are outside the federal building, and so we've got some significant protests there. And then, of course, on the coast, the biggest concern in the district where I'm running in the Democratic primary is we still don't have any updates on the proposed ICE facility out there in Newport, and so hoping that that is not going to happen. The violence that has upticked, particularly against the peaceful protesters in Portland, has been quite significant, particularly the Native folks that are up there protesting. Also, just on another note, I am honored and blessed to have just found out that we have received the national endorsement for the Progressive Democrats of America. So I am thrilled by that news. Thank you. I'm so excited about that news. So that's a little bit
get to
about
know
what's
each other.
happening here in Oregon.
Thank you, Melissa. We're very honored to have you. You are also an member of the indigenous community, and it is. I mean, my grandparents were immigrants, and I'm not indigenous, so they hate the indigenous. They hate my grandparents. Where does that leave? Who is okay in this country today?
Well,
Melissa?
I think it's really important for us to think about and remember that what we are facing right now, if we understand what we did to Native and Indigenous people for 500 years, that was the test for what we're doing now. And so this is not new. And I think that if we have a really clear understanding of that history, we can understand how to push back against this. But I also think that we have a real opportunity as communities to think about how we are pushing back in our communities to what we're being called to do. I actually preached about this yesterday when I was doing a sermon, an anti-fascist sermon yesterday. I talked about how we have to take the actions that we are called and compelled to engage in. And so my action, of course, is running for Congress in the Democratic primary, but there are every single one of the 115 people on this call have an opportunity to either protest, talk to elected officials, feed people, make sure people are able to pay their utility bills. I think there's so much incredible mutual aid happening in our communities right now. I know I'm seeing that in Portland and Eugene, and I know it's happening in Minnesota because I've seen what my friends are doing in Minnesota. But if we can also remember that pushing back against fascism also involves taking care of our communities and making sure that people have the resources that they need to eat, to pay their bills, to pay their rent. And so I think getting involved with mutual aid is really critically important while other people are engaging in even larger actions. And so I really want to remind all the people on this call that we all have opportunities to engage in different ways. And it doesn't always mean that we're going out and protesting and putting our bodies on the line.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Bird. Representative Grijalva, you want to respond?
No, I agree. I think that there are a lot of ways that people can help and support, and it's going to take every single one of us in every single role that is available out there in order for us to talk to each other and get each other through this. Because I wish I could say that this is the worst of it, but I think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better.
Yes, it will. Dr. Bird, thank you so much. Good luck on your race, and it's always great to have you. You're always welcome to come on. HEDY TRIPP, HEDY, if you could wait just one moment. You're in Minnesota. We're joined by Jennifer Roberts, and I want to make sure that Representative Grijalva, you meet Jennifer Roberts. Are you with us, Jennifer? Can you pop up here somehow?
I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Okay, Jennifer was the two-term mayor of Charlotte, North Carolina, and she's with the Carter Center, and a tremendously brilliant, powerful activist, and quite a brilliant human being, as well as having been a star basketball player, by the way.
And volleyball.
Huh?
And volleyball.
And volleyball. So, Jennifer, make sure that you and Representative Grijalva get in touch. Jennifer does very important work with the Carter Center, and it's a real honor to have the two of you together.
Thank you for being so kind, Harvey. And I'll put my email in the chat. And absolutely, North Carolina has been targeted by ICE. Charlotte had Border Patrol come here. We've got a whole network of folks who are expecting that they'll come back. So, yeah.
Yes. Well, great, Jennifer. Jennifer's always very humble and kind, but she's always on target and very important. So the two of you should make sure you know each other. I did talk to Joel Siegel the other day, by the way, who sends his regards. He was a very close friend of your father's, Representative, and he thinks that the guy who's running for Senate, the former governor, is going to do well. So we hope. What's his name? How's his name?
Yeah, Roy Cooper. Roy Cooper is up by 6 percentage points in polling right now, and there's still some people who are undecided. So he was up even more, I think, with the current murders by ICE, that more people are going to split from, sitting on the sidelines and begin to support Roy Cooper. Now, he's got a very, very good chance of winning our U.S. Senate race.
Well, we're, of course, nonpartisan, so we'll welcome his Republican opponent to come back on the show. But anyway, have you had violence yet in the streets from ICE in North Carolina?
Absolutely. We haven't had any deaths that I know of, but we have had the same kind of dragging people out of cars, smashing windows, arresting U.S. citizens and detaining them without letting them talk to lawyers or family for hours and hours. We had over 300 people on a chat. We've had thousands of people get trained by a group called Siembra, North Carolina, which is all about how to de-escalate, how to use whistles, how to keep people safe. We've had people sign up to take kids to school because they were waiting outside of schools to pick up parents and leave kids without anybody to take them home. People are afraid to go to the grocery store, so we still have people delivering food to those families. Our community really came together in support, but we know they're coming back, and people continue to prepare.
Oh my God.
We had,
It's not
yeah,
an awareness that this is happening in other states.
yeah.
Everybody's focused on Minnesota for good reason. And Congresswoman, I assume this is happening in Arizona as well.
Oh, it is, and Arizona is no stranger to this. We were I think the guinea pigs with SB 1070 and the Show Me Your Papers law. And so while a lot of that was declared unconstitutional, the ability for ICE law enforcement to be able to look at people and assess whether they think they're citizens or not is something that we've been living with for a very long time, since 2010.
Oh my God. And you had that crazy sheriff down there.
We had, we had, we don't have them
there's
anymore,
so
but we have.
many. Where do we start? We have 122
Yeah.
people with us. Mickey, Dance, Dave, Saltman, MYLA, Carly, Lynn, we're going to come to all of you, but first we're going to go from the belly of the frozen belly of the beast up in Minnesota, HEDY TRIPP. HEDY, you're right, you've been right in the middle of us. HEDY and I have known each other for 50 years, but here we go. I will say one thing. I spent a lot of time in Minneapolis fighting the nuclear plant, the Prairie Island plant. And because of what we did up there, because of Greenpeace, and the reception that we got in Minnesota, Minnesota is really the birth of the American wind energy industry for a very good reason. And I have to say, if Trump was going to pick a city to fight, it would be. I'm very happy with his choice of Minneapolis because of what the nature of the city. HEDY, can you tell us the latest of what's going on there?
Well, the latest, and I saw it in the chat, is the governor had a direct talk with the 45th. Governor asked for a fair and independent investigation into the situations here. Supposedly, the 45th said he would look into it. Then, supposedly, Gregory Bovino, the Border Patrol commander, is leaving tomorrow. So Waltz thinks that's because of the talk.
I think he's going to Greenland, I think.
I don't, oh God. No, anyway, Tom Homan is taking his place. So I don't know. It doesn't look that good. So you probably
now
know
Homan is the guy that got a $50,000 payoff. And Representative Grijalva, somebody in Congress, asked him if he was going to pay taxes on that money. You may want to follow up on that. But HEDY, you're in St. Cloud, and is there any change in the? Just tell us what's happening.
Well, I'd like to just go through. Okay, I'm HEDY TRIPP. I am an immigrant. I am a naturalized citizen. I carry my passport now. I do want to go, if you can give me 10 minutes, I will go through the tip of this massive iceberg that's here in Minnesota.
Well, if you can make it 5, that would be great. I'm sure that the Congresswoman is under time stress. So go ahead, please, though.
Okay, then I will. There's so much. Okay. I was in Minneapolis this weekend. My family have been totally overprotective of me, so I was able to look after my granddaughter while my daughter was in the streets. I can share the, oh goodness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just tell us.
Can you see it?
No, but go ahead.
Yeah, and I know this is
there you go.
Great, yeah. So the count is 200,000.
Oh my God.
Downtown Minneapolis.
200,000 people in the street?
Minus 10 degrees,
Oh.
minus 40 wind chill. So my daughter said, they were just part of it, but the feeling of connectivity, and it was a totally peaceful march. And you've got you've got thousands of people on the streets, and it's peaceful. And then we have the case of Alex Pretty. It seems very clear that he was shot in the back. He was unarmed at that point, and he was left there to die. But I do.
My understanding is he was shot 10 times. Is that right?
That's what the count was.
Oh God.
Yeah. One shot brought him down, then followed by 2, and then they heard 7 more shots.
Representative Grijalva, had you heard that?
I have heard that. I also have not heard, I mean, we've had no other information. And so it's just, it's devastating. That's why I was saying it's like death by execution. That's
Yes,
what it was in the streets.
yes, yeah.
Well,
That's also
200,000 people. I was at Woodstock. There were 350, but it was 80 degrees. So I think,
no, it was extremely cold, and there was all ages. Yeah. The one thing that I saw in the videos was an ICE agent using his pistol, hitting his head. But anyway, the other thing I want to bring up here is a 5-year-old preschooler and his father were detained and put into an ICE vehicle when they came back from school. Then they took this child, 5 years old, preschooler. They took this child out of the car, made him knock on the door of his home to see if there was anybody in the home. So you are seeing a child being used as bait by ICE. Now they have both been taken, child and father, been taken to a detention center, probably in Texas. Now, if this is the face of a criminal, this is a child with, he's shown in his pictures with a blue hat and 2 white bunny ears. Is this the face of a criminal? I ask you. Yes.
Hetty, can you turn your slideshow on? Click the slideshow button up there on right. Yeah, thanks. That helps.
there we go. Yes.
Okay. Now I do want to bring up.
Welcome, Peter Pekarsky here. Thanks.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'll bring it back to this is Liam Ramos. So if for those I know you're on radio, you just go to Liam Ramos and you will find that story there.
Was there any reason given for the arrest of this child?
They both came through legal means. They had proper papers. Let me see. They arrived at official crossing points. They had papers showing there was an active asylum case, but both were detained and taken away.
Oh my! And we don't know where they are.
Probably Texas. We don't know where they are. Now the school superintendent says agents have been circling schools, trailing school buses, and grabbing at least 4 other students in the last 2 weeks, then moving families to distant detention places like Texas. And yeah, that's where they think that Liam is. So you're turning public education into a hunting ground. You're looking at armed, masked people attacking children.
God. I taught college, Representative Grijalva, I taught college for 14 years, and in every class I taught the Bill of Rights. And what happened, you may want to ask the Congress, what happened to the Fourth Amendment? What happened to the Sixth Amendment? Do we have a Constitution? Do we have a Bill of Rights in this country? Nothing that ICE is doing is legal, not even close. Is that right, Henny?
Yep. No, I think Vance he came to Minneapolis and said, they don't need a warrant. At least that was what I understood.
How can they not need a warrant?
Well, yeah. I mean, we're seeing it even in the visits of oversight and for members of Congress. There was a law that a judge said, nope, they don't need to give you 7 days advance notice. They can show up right away. That's part of their responsibility. And then when Representative Omar showed up with 2 of her colleagues, the next day they sent out direction that it's a 7-day requirement. And so they're doing, even when courts are telling them something that they're doing is illegal, they're still choosing to do whatever they feel like. And that's part of the problem, of the many problems that we have going on.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. I mean, the Fourth Amendment is clear as day. The Sixth Amendment is clear as day. The 14th, they are violating every part of the American Constitution.
And we're noting that in Minneapolis because it's going into the courts, it's going into legislation. We have Keith Ellison, who's working, probably 24/7. Now, my grandson, he's in a Spanish immersion school, really close to the murder sites. So they have to drive him daily there. His friends and their families are afraid to leave home. So his parents, my daughter and son-in-law, they are both legal observers, and they are part of a movement to provide food for these families. So I got them rice and tortillas and healthcare supplies, and that is what you all can do too in terms of mutual aid.
Can you put the contacts in the chat there, please? Representative Grijalva, have you heard these reports before? And what is the Congress going to do about this?
Yes, we have. I mean, I can't tell you how many different pieces of legislation and bills that I have sponsored and co-sponsored to address all of these issues. And unfortunately, they need a number of members, of Republican members, to be able to move forward and force a vote on some of these issues. And we just don't have the numbers to force that.
Are you getting any response from any Republicans?
Other than the ones that we've seen recently saying that they would not vote for the appropriations bill if DHS funding is part of it, that's the only thing that we've heard thus far.
Oh, my God. Are Democrats solid? I mean, have you had defections from the Democrats?
We did for the 7 that voted in favor of funding for DHS, but of those 7, 4 of them have made public statements that they regret their vote. So my hope is that if significant changes happen in the Senate, that will have unity amongst Democrats, except for those of us that will not put any funding towards DHS, period. I mean, there are a number of us that just won't.
I want to mention very briefly, this is our bailiwick. Trump yesterday or the day before has moved to cancel $83 billion in funding for renewable energy. And he's switching all the money over to nuclear and fossil fuels. And we have to remember that Donald Trump is directly, personally invested in fusion energy. So he has a personal profit stake in killing renewable energy.
And all his friends are making money hand over fist.
It's horrifying. Horrifying.
I heard this Democratic strategist Matt McDermott says that Pam Bondi sent Minnesota officials a letter today saying ICE would leave the state if Minnesota turns over its voter files to the Trump administration.
What possible legal reason does a state turn over its voter files?
Well, they're not going to, but
in exchange for being deoccupied by a Gestapo. Can you answer that, Congresswoman Grijalva? Where is the legal framework for that?
I don't know. I mean, what I've been, screaming from the rooftop is that we are a co-equal branch of government. Let's do our job. And if there is a majority willing to move forward with initiatives, they have the numbers. But the fact that this administration doesn't come to us for whether you're going to declare war, whether you're going to, they're not coming to Congress for anything. And you have a majority in Congress that are willing to do the same. I think that, them coming at us, I heard from our Secretary of State, he made a public statement basically saying Arizona will not be turning over any information regarding our voters. But I think that sort of gives you an insight into this has nothing to do with security. And it never did.
Right.
It really didn't. This is about intimidation and having communities of color, immigrant communities, fearful of being involved.
Yes.
And it's very effective.
Well, let's see if it's effective. I mean, it's certainly, there has been pushback. And I will say this, that Donald Trump couldn't care less about immigration. His wife,
Absolutely.
2 of his 3 wives were immigrants. His mother was an immigrant. His grandparents. For Donald Trump, immigrants are Jews. Immigrants are to Donald Trump what Jews were to Hitler. This is a scapegoating operation. If it wasn't immigrants, it'd be something else. And this is all. But in what universe of the law is there a trade-off between pulling troops out of a state and turning over voter rolls?
Yeah, it's one of those things where it really helps you to gain insight as to what the agenda really is. So now what we're worried about, if they don't come to Arizona soon, will they be coming to Arizona around the election?
Of course.
To try to intimidate, of course, right? So that's why I think this getting organized is so critically important, because we're going to need to tap into the system repeatedly.
Well, he's simultaneously, obviously, trying to kill vote by mail. And ironically, more voters vote by mail who are Republican than Democrat.
Yeah.
But if you kill vote by mail and simultaneously make it untenable to come out to vote, what's left?
Yeah.
That's the squeeze play. I think. Hetty, do you want to add further from Minnesota? And Representative, will continue with you as long as you're willing. Go ahead, Hetty Tripp, please.
Republican Chris Medell says he's ending his campaign for governor of Minnesota, saying that he cannot support the national members of his party and the retribution on the citizens of our state. I thought that was positive. And also, U.S. Democrat Senator Amy Klobuchar is running for governor. As you know, Governor Walz reneged on his campaign for re-election for governor.
Well, he says he's going to go back to teaching. He's going to go back to teaching high school. What do people feel about how Governor Walz has handled the situation? Hetty?
I mean, there are people for and against, but he's certainly coming out saying that ICE out of Minnesota, that's been a constant piece. I will be at a city council meeting in St. Cloud in about half an hour, where there are two resolutions. One is saying we are welcoming to everybody, including immigrants and refugees, although does that mean equal, being open to everybody? And then there's another resolution saying that we have to support federal agents, including ICE. So we will be at that, I will be at that city council meeting. This is
You'll give us a full report next week.
Minnesota. Yeah, we are 70,000 population town. About 5,000 to 8,000 are Somali.
Wow. And what is happening in Arizona in your district, Representative Grijalva?
In my district, we're going to be launching our reelection campaign because, as you might remember, this was only for a year. And so we'll be launching next month, very early next month, I believe the 9th of February. And then we also have our neighboring district in CD6, which currently is held by Siskamani, which we're hoping to flip. It's one of the ones that are being targeted. Another one being targeted is California's 22nd congressional district, and these would be going from Republican representatives to a Democrat. And so I'm going to be doing what I can to help in some of those battleground states to keep the seats that we have, but to get more progressive candidates where we can, because I think that's going to be important. It's critically important that we win the House back. We have to.
Well,
and Sonny,
the margin in the House right now is very tight. Representative Grijalva, is there any conceivable scenario where you could see the House flipping now?
I mean, we're getting one other person that's coming in on a special election in theory, at the end of this month. But again, that all depends on whether Speaker Johnson is going to swear that individual in right away, or are they going to, take another 50 days because it's a Democrat? We'll see. And it's one of the reasons why I submitted a bill about representation and the importance of, no delay in representation, especially for specials. Because when you look at Republicans that were up to get sworn in on a special, they were sworn in under 5 days. But, we broke records in waiting for 50.
Yeah,
Sonny, we've got Dan O'Neill from Arizona who wants to give a quick shout out.
Go ahead, Dan, please.
Hi, Dan.
Hey, can you guys hear me okay? Can you
hear me?
Yeah,
loud and clear. Go ahead.
Thank
we
you
have
all
124 people with us, so go ahead.
I see that, 124. Thank you, everybody, for being on the call. And Adelita, PDA, Arizona, big shout out to you. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you all for your advocacy. Adelita, we're going to have your back for your reelection coming up. PDA, both here in both Tucson and throughout the whole state. So again, keep in touch with me, okay, sister?
Absolutely, I will. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Congresswoman, we have a bunch of people lined up.
And I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to jump off in a couple minutes. There's a multi-denominational kind of service here in front of the ICE facility. We just are driving into Tucson. So I want to make sure that they know I'm supportive here too. But yes.
Well, I did want to very quickly, thank you. I do want to, in my own particular world here, I did want to urge you to, when you run into Gavin Newsom, to tell them to stop supporting nuclear power and to shut down the Diablo Canyon reactors. And MYLA RESON has spent a lot of time on the Palo Verde. Very quickly, MYLA, can you get in your 2 cents, and then we'll let the representative go. Please.
Sure. I just wanted to say I had conversations with your dad, Representative Grijalva, and he was well aware of the fact that the Palo Verde nuclear power plant is draining the aquifer in, well, not necessarily, because
Okay.
it's being cooled by aggregated municipal wastewater that's treated, but they're evaporating 27,000 gallons of water every minute to keep those reactors from blowing up. And I know it's kind of a third rail, because the delegation from Arizona seems to be in favor of not only keeping those reactors going, but also of adding new small reactors to that facility. I'm hoping that when you have a little bit more time, we can have a more fulsome discussion about this nuclear power plant. I know it's in your district and it employs a lot of people, but it's keeping solar, it's pushing solar out and impeding the development of solar in Arizona.
Yeah, I welcome the conversation.
Good. And Representative, we're 100% behind you. We're honored by your presence. Still 120 people with us.
Thank you.
Go to your meeting, and you broke our cardinal rule, which is you spoke while driving. But
no, I'm not driving. I'm in the
you're
back.
not
I
driving.
promise.
Okay.
Yeah,
you're good.
they're driving up in the front, and I jumped in the back seat.
Well, so you are going to a meeting, and HEDY TRIPP in Minnesota is going to a meeting. I'm sure Melissa Bird went. HEDY, thank you very much for your report. And you and the representative should be in touch. Next week, we're going to have Ro Khanna with us, by the way, thanks to Mike Hurst. So thank you both.
Thank you. Thank you for your advocacy, all of you. Thank you for the conversation, and I look forward to doing a lot more things together.
We're thrilled to have you with us, and please come back. You're welcome anytime. And I want to cast my vote, by the way, for the new Speaker of the House to be Jamie Raskin. So if you can make that happen, that would be terrific. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Take care, you guys. Thank you.
Stay safe.
HEDY, thank you. HEDY, is there anything you wanted to throw in before we go to callers?
Yeah. I haven't asked. I need people to question their Republican legislators, question them directly as to why they are condoning murder, lies, and violence through these ICE agents who are, part of a mercenary army here in Minnesota and throughout the nation.
We need to do that. Yes.
Before HEDY leaves, I just wanted to say that, we have acknowledged the deaths of Alex Preddy and Michelle Good, but in 2026, ICE has also killed a black man named Keith Porter, a Cambodian man named, and I hope I correctly, Pardi La, and 5 Latinos named Herbert Sanchez Dominguez, Victor Manuel Diaz, Luis Beltran Llanes Cruz, and I apologize for any Luis Gustavo Nunez Caceres, and Geraldo Lunas Campos. That's all this year. And we pay a lot of attention to the deaths of white, and as we should, because they were wonderful, Nicole Good and Alex Preddy. Yeah. But we tend to ignore and not say the name of these other people who were
right. Here. Thank you for that. Thank you.
We don't know if there have been others that their names are unknown.
Right. And Jennifer Roberts, you're still with us, and HEDY and Jennifer. I hope you get to know each other. Is there anything, Jennifer, that you wanted to add from North Carolina? I'm not sure she's still with us here.
No, yeah, I'm still here for a few more minutes because I have another meeting coming up. But what was the question?
Well, if HEDY and MYLA have acknowledged other people having been killed by ICE, have there been any acknowledged deaths in North Carolina, and how are people resisting there?
We do not have any acknowledged deaths yet, but I absolutely agree that there are detainees, there are people of color who have also been killed and have gotten less attention. We've had people who are U.S. citizens abducted and taken to Florida. We had a U.S. citizen Latino man who was dropped at a bus stop in Florida and told to find his way home. We have, they all have attorneys. They're trying to, get damages from the federal government, but we know where that's going to go. But there are numerous cases of mistaken identity, of there are a lot of similar names, people getting picked up with the wrong person and being harassed. As I said, there's been cars, just, broken windows, people taken from their homes in front of their children. But we don't know of any deaths. Doesn't mean that there haven't been any. But we are continuing to grow the resistance and to share information. And by the way, there are folks here all over the country. Before they came here, we had great conversations with DC, with Chicago, with Arizona about methods that they had used to call out ICE and to try to protect people. And I just want to say thank you to our country. I think that we are coming together in ways that we have needed to come together, because we are absolutely seeing authoritarianism take over. And it's the people who are going to save us, all of us together.
Well, you're one of them, and thank you so much. Hedy, do you want to throw something in before we go to Mickey Leader and Dave Saltman and everyone else?
No, I'm going to go join the people right now.
Okay, well, you'll be back with us next week, and please. Jennifer, thank you for joining us, Congresswoman Grijalva. Next week, we will have Ro Khanna with us. I do want to point out, by the way, as a sports fan, that the National Basketball Association Players Association has issued a statement denouncing ICE. So there you go. And of course, a lot of them could be picked up right off the court. It could happen. So anyway, okay. Thank you, Jennifer. Hedy, we still have 114 people with us. Mickey Leader, do you want to jump in? And Dave Saltman.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi. Okay. Hopefully everybody is surviving the very bad weather. We had almost 20 inches of snow. I would like to say over the past 2 or 3 weeks, I've had so many ideas, but no opportunity to really speak. And it's going to sound like random stuff. But we have so much in history we should be exploring. When we were saving Blacks from being murdered and re-rounded up in the 1800s, we had underground railroads. We need to look at that. And how do we take people and young children and save them from being taken away and disappeared? ICE is just horrible. Stephen Miller is horrible. We should be impeaching, and I'm not making this up, impeaching all of them, Noam and Stephen Miller and whatever his name, Bivoli, or whatever his stupid name is. Every one of these people are horrible, horrible people. All they want is power, control, and they want to kill. Watching poor young Mr. Petty being murdered today, my heart was broken. Governor Newsom has come out with commentary that anybody who is working for ICE anywhere who comes to California, they will not ever work in any job in California. I hope we can continue to try and eliminate these people any way we can from getting paid. Noam's money, the billions that she's paying sign-on bonuses, is enough to make all of us, how do we allow this to happen? How do we not immediately get rid of these people and ship them to wherever, ship them to China, get rid of them?
We don't need them in China, but, the question is there a separate species of human being? We have human beings who have empathy and compassion and who would never do this. Who are these Trump people that are so lacking in empathy and compassion? Are they a different species? Is this a subset of the Homo sapiens? It's hard to know here. I'm mystified, frankly.
It's like male foxes eating their young. They feel their territory is being invaded. Dave Saltman, you can turn your camera on, please.
That's fine. Dave Saltman, thank you, Mickey.
There you go.
Are you ready for me? Maybe I don't get something, but I do not see the wisdom of letting the government shut down at a time like this. It seems to me just the opposite of what we need. And I would like to know why Chuck Schumer or somebody like him isn't the person telling us about all these deaths around the country caused by his enemies, his own enemies. And I would also like Harvey, to add to your calling our attention to the Fourth Amendment and the 14th Amendment. What about the Second Amendment? Is it time for us to exercise our Second Amendment rights? And is it time to really organize this and under the aegis of the Ninth Amendment, which says that all rights not enumerated are reserved to the people, and we would be invoking our right of self-defense.
Well,
I just have one other thing to say. This is not the first time this happened. I was in Berkeley in 1969 when guns were in the streets, people were being shot in the back. Ronald Reagan was the governor, and it was a disastrous time. And it was only because of organization. And frankly, I was not 100% their fans, but the Black Panthers getting on the steps of the state capitol, armed to the teeth, was a significant moment in bringing down that catastrophe.
Well, I will say one thing about the Second Amendment. Nobody reads the Second Amendment. It says a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. Then it says, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be abridged. As far as I'm concerned, the Second Amendment says if you are not in a militia, and if your own a gun does not help the security of a free state, you don't have a right to a gun. And I think James Madison knew exactly what he was saying. So, the Second Amendment, I think it has its complexities, let's put it that way. But to me, I think nonviolence is the only way to go. I think Minnesota has a tremendous history, deeply steeped in the history of nonviolence. There are people there who really know what they're doing. As I say, we had a tremendous nonviolent movement up there that got the wind industry going. It's mind-boggling. I never get sick, and I'm really under the weather, and I know it's because of what's going on here. I think we all need to watch our health because this is catastrophic for the human soul. Lynn, thank you, David, and say hi to Barry Weiss. I know you're going to be going to dinner. Sorry about that. Lynn Feinerman, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to follow what Saltman said, and also you, Harvey. I want a criminal conviction for Spam Blondie for extorting from Minnesota. We must stop this criminal attempt to steal the 2026 elections. This is what that's all about. And I want to know if there are attorneys here. I want to know what we have in the way of legal process, legal access. How can we, what about something like citizen's arrest? Can we go to the Justice Department and arrest that woman?
That would be lovely. I'd love to see that happen. But this is a situation where they're ignoring the law.
They're criminals. They're not just ignoring the law. You don't extort an entire state to give up information it doesn't wish to give up in exchange for stopping beating the hell out of them.
Well, that's a very accurate way to put it. Very, very powerful way to put it. I would say, actually, people, I strongly urge you, Google Jack Smith, the straight arrow prosecutor, did testify in front of Congress. And he was very, very clear of Donald Trump's criminality. And I highly recommend everybody look up Jack Smith's congressional testimony. He could not have been more clear about what we're dealing with here. And, where are the Jack Smiths and the rest of the legal system now that we need them? We're witnessing the collapse of our legal system because these guys just don't care about the law. Paul Newman, please, Paul.
Yes, I just wanted to say that when I hear the excuse from the Democratic Congress that we're outnumbered, I think there's all sorts of strategies that can be used. I know in South Korea, they use similar strategies to resist their fascism when they were fascist.
Hello?
Yes?
I just wanted to say that I'm okay. I lost my train of thought for a second, but
okay.
It's not just, but all this stuff with going on. I mean, the analogy to Hitler was absolutely perfect. Woman myself, I'm just get people don't do the right thing. Being autistic as well.
Carly, you interrupted Paul Newman.
All right, MYLA, let her go.
I was told to unmute, so let me mute now, and then I'll wait my turn. Forgive me.
It's okay. All right, thank you, MYLA, for jumping in there.
Okay.
Paul, go ahead.
Okay, what I was going to say, I mean, they could join the ICC, have them watch the border for abuses, human rights abuses. We could delay a lot of the bills and hold them up, have them read. I mean, there's a lot of strategies that can be used to slow everything down to a crawl, that the Democratic Party can use. But when I hear a lot of them say, oh, well, Republicans have the majority, there are things that can be done. And we're not looking at them, and nor are they, and they should be. I land my plane.
There you go. Paul, by the way, I'm missing your email. If you will email me, please. I don't have your contacts for some reason.
Sure.
Okay, MYLA, thank you for jumping in there. And Carly, it's your turn now. Go ahead. I'm trying to unmute you, Carly. Let's go to Nicole.
I'm here. Sorry.
Go ahead, Carly, please.
Okay. I'm myself. I just have like no patience, kind of BS, no matter who it's coming from. Because being Jewish and autistic, I have a very strong sense of justice as a rule. So when consistent or not follow the way I get really PO'd. So and why I've been really active in trying to. I've been trying to get involved in the best ways I can. I'm helping out Karishma Manzoor, who is running against Chris Pappas in the House for Senate, and I'm also friends with Heath Howard, who is going for Pappas' spot in the US House of Representatives. So I'm trying my best to do what I can in ways that don't drive me nuts. I would go for school board if I had the bandwidth.
Well, listen, you're welcome on the call. We appreciate your enthusiasm. Thank you for jumping in.
We have been joined by Dennis Palash from Kiev, Ukraine.
Yes, so we're in the second hour. We got a few more people we're going to let talk, and then Dennis, we're going to jump into a very deep discussion of what's happening in Ukraine with the nuclear plants and also the devastation that Trump has leveling at the renewable energy industry. We have Howie Hawkins going to be joining us. Oh, hi, Dennis. How are you? The question is, are you colder than the people in Minnesota? But we'll come back to you and get that question answered. Nicole Ong, Donald Smith, and then we'll go to Ukraine. Nicole?
Hold on. Yes, hi. Thank you for letting me ask this question. I just wanted to point out that among the people that was cited about being injured, there's two people that were blinded in the eye by.
That's right.
And then there's another man that was also shot in the eye, Chicago, but fortunately, his eye was okay. So that kid was 21 year old. He's 21 year old, and he said he's not deterred. He's going to continue. And I really love to see if somebody would do a fundraising for him. And
thank you for that.
Yes, and the other thing that I wanted to point out is, Trump is talking about all these people that are stealing from Medicaid. He pardoned a guy who has stolen 1.3 billion in Medicaid.
Right.
He pardoned that guy, the biggest theft. And
you've also got the U.S. Senator from Florida, Rick Scott, who's been totally head over in the corruption of the medical industry for decades.
Yes, and the governor of California has a list of all the corruption that Trump is doing.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty long list. But thank you for that, Nicole. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Donald Smith, we're going to wrap with you, and then we're going to go to Ukraine. Donald, go ahead.
Okay, I just a couple points that I reiterate some of them I made in the local chat. But Ezra Levin of Indivisible sent out an email, which I think was spot on. He said that the Democratic leadership, they think that immigration is a losing issue. And they said, well, yeah, we need to enforce borders. People came illegally. They think we just shouldn't fight it. But I replied that for millions of the immigrants who came here, they were fleeing problems in Latin America that were the result of decades or a century of U.S. change operations, support for militias, arming of brutal sanctions like in Venezuela. So of course they came here. So and economic exploitation too. And so the migration crisis in largely result of U.S. policy, and also in Europe the same thing. The European politics was upended by migration caused by U.S. wars in the Middle East, like our covert war against Syria. Sanctions killed 500,000. So Chris Hedges said it's the imperial boomerang. Cornel West said now we're seeing the niggerization, because his word, of American whites, because we're now experiencing what blacks have experienced for centuries.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Donald. Very, very accurate, very well spoken. And
we have another person from Kiev on the line. Please turn your camera on.
Do we have a second person? We have Dennis. Dennis, where are you? Where are you?
I'm in Kiev, and Oleg is here as well. So please get him aboard.
Question. When did Kiev turn into Kyiv?
Well, it was always in Ukrainian language, Kyiv.
Oh, okay. Because when I was there in '96 for the gathering of the 10th commemoration of Chernobyl, and everybody called it Kiev. And then all of a sudden, anyway, who cares? Okay, Dennis. Okay, everybody, we've had an incredible hour. Thank you for being with us. We still have 103 people with us. This call, people have the longest attention span of anywhere in America. We're joined by two people from Ukraine, and then Howie Hawkins, the presidential candidate from the Green Party in Syracuse. And we are going to talk about what is, I consider, the number one crisis in the world today, which is the tenuous status of the 19 atomic reactors in Chernobyl, four in Chernobyl, 15 otherwise in Ukraine, which could be blowing up as we speak. I am frankly terrified. I was in Kiev in '96, interviewed more people than I wanted to who had been harmed by Chernobyl. And I refused to go there, thank God. My buddy Michael Marriott insisted on going to Chernobyl and has since passed away. I'll never forgive him for going there, but here we are. We have Dennis and Ola. Ola, where are you? Are you in Kiev also?
Yes, I'm in Kiev.
Okay, and Howie Hawkins is in Syracuse with the Green Party, and you are all involved up front and personal with the situation of Putin trying to wipe out the energy grid in Ukraine and simultaneously risking those nuclear plants. So as I think we all know, you do not have to hit an actual nuclear plant to cause a disaster. The four reactors of Fukushima essentially blew up because they lost off-site power. And it's hard to know where to start. Dennis, you have an engineering background, and we'll go to Ola and then Howie. Tell us, please, what's going on in Ukraine.
So basically, the people of Ukraine are in the midst of this imperialist war that is waged by the far-right, ultra-conservative, crony capitalist dictatorship of Putin in Russia against Ukraine. And one of their major parts of their strategy is to target civilian infrastructure, specifically energy infrastructure, heating infrastructure. So every winter we have these attacks intensifying, and every winter they have basically the main goal to freeze us to death. So now in Kyiv we just had another air raid alert and another menace of a ballistic missile attack just recently. And we have temperatures like minus 15, minus 20 Celsius, that is below 0 Fahrenheit, I presume. So you after another wave of such attacks, when you have this combined missile and drone attacks on major cities of Ukraine, on Kyiv, Kharkiv, Kryvyi Rih, Zaporizhia, Dnipro, Odessa, for instance. And then you have situations when in Kyiv, like half of the city is cut off heating. And we have like constant blackouts, constant lack of electricity, like just now. I can experience this. So basically, this means that in addition to the confirmed official death toll of the civilians who have been directly killed by the Russians in Ukraine, you have all those people who are indirect victims of this aggression, because you have people who are frozen to death. You have people whose condition is complicated by all the implications of the Russian attacks and the lack of heating, because when they attack this, like combined heat and power stations that do cogeneration, you basically cut off both electricity and heating for the civilian population. So just to understand, there is also this the major reason that we can even survive to an extent is due to this heroic feat of those people, both those who resist the attack on the front line and all those essential workers who do all the repair job and all the work to restore the systems very swiftly, risking their lives, because Russians are constantly doing these double attacks. When you have the previous, the first one, and then the rescuers come in, and then they are hit by another wave of attacks. So in these very harsh conditions, very severe frosts like now, well, we can survive only because the feet of those people, like the communal energy sector workers who have been working in extreme conditions. So some of you may recognize from the Chernobyl series the story of the divers who, well, 3 divers who were assigned with almost kamikaze mission to stop the meltdown, and everyone was considering them to be doomed. But ultimately, those people survived the disaster, and one of them, at least one of them, Alexei Ananenko, is still alive in Kiev, and his apartment was also affected by another Russian attack. And these attacks also took the life of the widow of the person who is considered the first victim of Chernobyl nuclear disaster. So she is Natalia Khodenchuk. She was killed by the Russians back in November. So I recall this situation because now we had divers who were working under this severe frost to restore one of the major power plants for Kiev. And again, these people, they don't get enough recognition from our own government, because even when they are entitled of different payments, and when they are injured or killed on their workplaces, and they are, according to the law, to get their payments, in many cases they need to go to the courts to demand it, because well, on one hand, it's obvious that if you are in energy sector, it's a strategic critical infrastructure. But if your specific enterprise isn't on a classified list of critical infrastructure, then you may be denied this. So basically, as the organization I am part of, social movement, Социальный рух, we assist the workers who aren't, recognized for their accomplishments in restoring restoring everything for the people by risking their own lives. So this is roughly the broad situation.
Well, thank you for that, Dennis. Let's talk to Ola. You're with Razom We Stand. My understanding is Razom We Stand is primarily an environmental group that is looking to convert Ukraine to renewables and to get us off this nightmare of the nuclear disaster that we're looking into the abyss here. Ola, can you just tell us what you're about here in Ukraine?
Thanks. Well, actually, we're environmentalists before the full-scale invasion. Svetlana, and she was for some time regional director of 350.org in Eastern Europe, Caucasus, and Central Asia. And I worked with a number of environmental groups in Ukraine, and also with German organizations, with Heinrich Böll Foundation. But we don't position Razom We Stand as an environmental organization. We position ourselves as a justice organization and anti-war organization, and basically Ukrainian sovereignty organization. And that's what we are doing is not about environment only anymore, and environment, unfortunately, not in the first place. It's about Ukrainian lives, about preserving democracy and European democracy itself, because now it's under fire. And the real intention of Putin and Trump is to crush any democracy or rule of law or any opposition to their fascist agendas. Yeah, that's
Okay. And
a
how are
short
you working
introduction.
how are you working in Ukraine, and what is the situation now in Ukraine?
Well, it's terrible. And the most terrible thing is that we saw it coming for years, but we couldn't do much because of the state capture inside in Ukraine, because of the corruption networks that were built and maintained by Russia for decades, especially in the state nuclear energy company Energoatom. And basically, in February 2022, the key angles of attack, the key channels for Russia to come into Ukraine, and their Trojan horse was basically Energoatom. They captured the largest nuclear power plant in Europe in less than 10 days. Basically, in the first week, it was captured because it was all infiltrated with Russian agents. And also they entered the Kiev region through Chernobyl. And there they also didn't face any strong military pushback. And that was not a coincidence, that was the result of activities of Russian networks, unfortunately.
So
And
Chernobyl
yeah,
had
and now,
no the Chernobyl region had no military resistance because it was, wiped out, and as I recall, Russian soldiers came in and terrorized Ukrainian safety workers at the Chernobyl nuclear plant. Is that correct?
yes. Well, but they did lots of crazy things. They dug trenches in the radioactive waste piles, and I think hundreds of them got the exposure to very high levels of radiation, and then Russia had to evacuate a lot of those ill affected soldiers. Well, that's good. We didn't have to shoot them. They killed themselves. So no problem. Sorry for brutality, but
So what is happening? And the concern now, one of the major concerns that's sort of seeped into the major media is the question of what happens at Zaporizhia. You've got 6 reactors there. They're Russian-made reactors, but they were controlled by Ukraine. But now, what is the situation exactly at Zaporizhia? They're in cold shutdown, but still obviously need offsite power to keep the reactor cores and the spent fuel pools cool.
Yeah, I think that the major concern is spent fuel pools because they really need circulation pumps running. That's very important for cooling. Well, now the ambient temperatures is lower, and it takes a bit more time for the fuel rods to get up to the critical temperature. But still there is some margin of days or maybe weeks before things start to melt down. regarding the VVR reactors, it's important to note the principal difference between Chernobyl reactors and reactors on all other nuclear power plants in Ukraine, including Zaporizhzhia, is that they are of different design. The Chernobyl reactors, they were of RBMK type, which is very poor on safety and basically a flawed design, which is very vulnerable to malfunctions and this runaway disasters. But VVR reactors, they of a better design, and they have a passive safety systems.
But how dangerous? How much danger are we in now between these other reactors losing cooling? And also, of course, Putin apparently hit the sarcophagus at Chernobyl with at least one drone, which seems to have compromised its ability to contain radiation.
Yeah, Russia's doing all sorts of reckless things. They were doing also provocations at Zaporizhzhia multiple times. They made like false flag attack on one of the buildings with drones, but actually those buildings are like several meters of concrete, and like small scale drone cannot do anything to that confinement. It was mere for like media effect. But what is quite serious is that they are continuously disrupting the grid connection between Zaporizhzhia and Ukrainian grid. And that really puts the operations there in danger. There are backup diesel generators, quite a few of them, I guess up to 20. And for some time, the on-site power can be provided by those diesel generators. So there are some like safety systems in place, and at least I think that cooling ponds, they can be safely operated based on the power from the diesel generator. So I would not like to wish to downplay the seriousness of situation or soothe you, but we are not in the Fukushima situation.
Not yet. Steve Caruso and then Howie Hawkins. Thank you, Ola. Steve Caruso.
I just read that Zelensky released a bunch of money for energy independence, so anybody could start putting solar panels in. They also include gas generators. Well, in a war situation, which is not, the best thing, but and then I just put up a thing about the wind and Europe going for offshore wind to help Ukraine energy in the background. So thanks.
Are there any solar panels around Ukraine, Dennis?
We have plenty of them. Just in those 4 years of war, we've built around 2 gigawatts of new solar power, mostly rooftop, but not by the population, but by businesses and industries for their own operations and their ability to keep running in the conditions of power cuts.
Has Putin been targeting solar panels to shatter them?
Yes, one of the largest in Europe. The utility scale solar plant was in Nikopol, and it's basically mostly entirely destroyed. I think it was more than 100 megawatts, and it's not operational to my knowledge, and maybe in some minor parts, but it was really heavily damaged.
Is there any geothermal? Has Ukraine tried geothermal at all?
Not really. Only some heat pumps. We do have some potential in the western Ukraine, especially in Transcarpathia region. And we do have some research on that in the academic institutions, and we have an emerging geothermal energy association, which was created just before the invasion, I guess in 2020 or 2021. But we have at this point surmountable regulatory, legal, and fiscal barriers for development of geothermal. It basically doesn't make economic sense because you cannot get the permits.
That's ridiculous. Okay, Howie Hawkins, you want to jump in on this?
Yeah, just on the background as to why we're in this discussion. Last Tuesday night, Russia fired, 27 missiles and nearly 400 drones? No, that was Saturday night. It was even more last Tuesday, and they hit substations powering cooling systems at all of Ukraine's nuclear power plants. They completely cut off Chernobyl and impacted all of the nukes. So that's where this crisis comes from. And, they did it Tuesday night. They did it again Friday night, in particular a substation in Kyiv Oblast, which powers Rivne, which is a nuclear station with 4 reactors. So that's why we're in this situation. I put it in before, I'm going to put it in again, an article by Ola that was in Euromaidan Press that goes into why Ukraine should get off nukes and into renewables, both for reasons of corruption. You probably heard about the corruption scandal, and these centralized monopolies are vulnerable to rent-seeking corrupt people, and renewables, and then for security reasons. They're centralized, whereas renewables are distributed. So it takes a lot more drones to wipe them out. So it's a lot of reasons. And Ole's article is fantastic. I really urge people to read it. He goes into detail, including connections to people around Trump, like Giuliani, working with a guy that was a Ukrainian member of parliament, but then defected to Russia, is now a senator in Russia. His name is Andrei Derkach. Yeah, my Ukrainian or Russian is not good. So that corruption scandal you hear is about all Ukrainian. Well, there's a Russian connection. It's all in this article, so I urge you to read that. And Ola has really laid it out well.
Well, you put the link in the chat here?
Yeah, I put it in twice so far. Last one at 6:28 p.m. Eastern.
Does anyone, and I'll ask you two guys in Ukraine, does anyone doubt that Putin is willing to blow up a Ukrainian nuclear plant?
Well, it's really hard to diagnose those people. They are insane and unpredictable, but I think, not at this point. I think Russia is moving on the stages of escalation gradually. But they have no red lines. They can do anything. It's just a matter of where they feel that they can get away with it. They were getting away with insane things for years. And if they are not repelled and not finally getting what they deserve, they will go further and they will cross the new red lines.
Dennis?
Yeah, I actually second Alex's evaluation that while they are unpredictable enough, they have made a lot of irrational things, even purely from a very cynical viewpoint. But it seems that it's not on the table yet. But still, the consequences of some of their attacks, they may go really, really far. So, as in case with this targeting substation and jeopardizing the security at the nuclear power plants, still mostly because Ukraine could mobilize resources enough and have all the backups to prevent the worst case scenarios. But it seems that, yes, this recklessness, it may really put all of us in great danger. So it's high time to use our international solidarity to really stand up against Russia as a fossil fuel empire that is waging a destructive war, the worst war in Europe since Hitler's invasion of European countries in Second World War, but also to really concentrate on how we are building back better and how we actually guarantee a real just green transition. Because as it has already been brought up here, that all the renewables have all the bonuses, all the more preferential sides, both in peacetime and in wartime. They are more decentralized, they are less vulnerable to being concentrated in this handful of corrupt oligarch and official networks, like it was with this Mindich Gate, the corruption scandal that was invoked today in Ukrainian energy system and specifically in Energoatom nuclear company. And they are given to this more decentralized nature. Of course, they are less vulnerable to these massive Russian attacks. So
now, despite you've had a huge, very well publicized scandal in the Ukrainian government, and apparently that's rooted in the nuclear power industry. And you also have Ukraine building 2 commercial reactors with Westinghouse. We had 2 reactors just came online in Georgia, the last ones in the U.S. It took 15 years and $35 billion. Howie Hawkins, is that what's happening in Ukraine with these 2 reactors?
Yeah, I would like Ola to answer that question. I was just going to say briefly, I think Russia really doesn't want to cause meltdowns in Ukraine because of the blowback. The radiation could hit Russia as well. I think what they're trying to do is intimidate Ukraine into surrender. And, Dennis and Ola can speak to that, but people I talk to in Ukraine, it's just making them more pissed off.
Ola, the 2 reactors, the Westinghouse reactors being built in Ukraine, does anybody actually think they're going to get finished?
No, actually, there is no construction for AP1000 in Ukraine at this moment. But the whole story is quite crazy, and I think it's quite despicable and, very unfortunate that the previous US ambassador was giving lip service to the previous management of Energoatom, and even going to decide to participate in some media absurdity last year when the president of the former executive of Energoatom was announcing the construction of 2 reactors, but not with Westinghouse technology, but with the Russian technology, with second-hand reactors, which were dismantled from unfinished Belene nuclear power plant in Bulgaria. But eventually this whole scheme with Bulgarian reactors collapsed because because of the internal opposition in Bulgaria, and Bulgarian government found some sanity, and they stopped this nonsense. So basically, now this whole thing collapsed, especially after the Mindich Gate scandal. Energoatom is now under high scrutiny, but most people are still in their positions in Energoatom. And just last week, there was another huge scandal with the embezzlement of money on the electricity trade, and basically there was internal information used by traders. So in short, the Energoatom management, which was not changed after the Mindich Gate scandal, sold to commercial private electricity traders huge amounts of electricity for several weeks of supply, just a few days before the regulator increased the price cap. So they sold the electricity volumes to private traders 2 times less the price than it was sold a few days later after the price caps were raised. And
Okay.
it got big publicity, and now we're in the middle of this. So
in the middle of this
this
war, you've got all these scandals going on. Are you
yeah,
saying that
we have an internal war with
right?
corruption and Russian influence networks still.
Are you saying that the Westinghouse reactors are not being built?
No.
They're not. Okay. I'm
No.
glad to hear that. Does anyone else? Oh, Lynn Feinerman, go ahead. Lynn, please.
Yes, thank you. With regard to the struggle against Russian influence and the confrontation in terms of both Russian nuclear capacity and Russian oil, where does the US fit into this? I am always concerned that, you know, while we're beating up on the usual suspects, very serious criminals are doing things like turning away Russian oil tankers from Venezuela or capturing them or walking into Venezuela and taking whatever it feels like taking, i.e. the US. I'm concerned how Ola and Denise would place the United States in this horrible game, which involves, you know, nuclear and environmental destruction.
Dennis?
Well, I guess now the masks are off and Trump administration is clearly on the same side with Putin in all regards. So honestly, US is also a fossil fuel empire, just like Russia. And what US has been doing throughout its history to Latin America is very akin to what Russia has been doing to parts of Central Eastern Europe, Central Asia, and other regions it has been dominating. So viewing it as its backyard where it can intervene at any point. So now Trump is doing this real war on any attempts to actually save the planet from a climate disaster, from all those anthropogenic pressure and outcome of human activity that is amplified by this very, like capitalism on steroids that is represented by Trump administration and the major billionaires in the US. So essentially, we saw that on our local level in Ukraine, the so-called peace initiatives spearheaded by Trump, they have only encouraged Russian terror attacks on civilian population. So in previous year, we had an increase on a third of how many civilians have been killed by Russian attacks. So ultimately, we have their cooperation on this level, and we have they're colluding in their worldview, not just in the terms that they want to carve up the world into this very imperialistic style spheres of influence, but also in a way that they want to stop the progress in regards of specifically if we speak about climate policy and renewables. So both US and Russia are now like doing this drill baby drill and promoting old, outdated, polluting coal and nuclear as well. If we speak about Europe, for instance, like Russia is trying to build this another reactor at Paks in Hungary and so on. So they're clearly very aligned now.
Yeah, I mean, the counterattack on renewable energy has just been gargantuan, and the Trump crime family is directly invested in fusion energy, and of course, so many of his backers are in fossil fuels. Ola?
Well, I would like to address another facet of this, especially the role of the private companies in the US capital in Russian fossil fuel industry and their ability to keep going. There are like landmark cases like Schlumberger or SLB, a Texas-based oil service corporation, which actually expanded business operations in Russia when all their competitors left. And what they're doing, they are helping Russia to drill for more oil in the Arctic, in Siberia, and they providing US technology which was created by the US funded research and US taxpayer money. And they provided to Putin for him to be able to fund his war of aggression. This is actually a corporate complicity in war crimes. This corporation CEOs, they should be on the war tribunal together with Putin. And there are other similar cases like that. Another outstanding case is the case of the private investment fund Stonepeak Infrastructure Partners, which is like a global squid or global monster with lots of branches. And they own one of the largest operators of LNG tanker fleet in the world. They own CPIC Maritime, and CPIC Maritime, attention, together with Chinese, owns 6 vessels that are exporting Russian LNG from Yamal Peninsula in the Arctic to Europe. So the US-based private equity fund is doing business with Russia and China on LNG and keeping Europe hooked on Russian gas.
Unbelievable. Okay, well, we're getting the direct line from Ukraine, and it's another depressing story. Do you see any hope, any glimmers of things turning in a good way in this war, or are you still deep in the depths?
Well, we would wish to think that like the darkest times are before the sunrise. And that we will prevail. But the cost that we are paying is terrible, and we're losing our friends who are dying on the front lines. We're losing other people in the cities, dying from Russian drones and missiles. And with every month or every week of this war, our society is getting more and more traumatized and weakened, and it will be much harder to recover. And
I feel that way.
This is the war of attrition. They are trying to wipe us out as a nation.
Right.
Basically, it's like they clearly and conscientiously are committing genocide.
Steve Caruso, Nicole, Dave Saltman, and Donald. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, one thing I've seen recently in reading news about Ukraine, guy Jay in Kiev reports that the Russians are using missiles that are ungodly old, that don't function. I mean, it just, landed in somebody's living room or something. And then another missile that they found was like made a week ago. So it's like they're reaching down to the bottom of the barrel, running out of resources. Ukraine, I don't know if people in the U.S. understand how much infrastructure that Ukraine has taken out of Russia. They're not bombing apartment buildings. They're not going after civilians, okay? But it's ammunition dumps every other day. fuel depots, refineries, the whole thing. And, Russia's only a country of 145 million. Okay. Europe is 450 million. Ukraine is only 30. Okay. Russia supposedly got, 5 times as many people. So Kiev was the first organizer of Outland Russia. Okay. And it seems like we're returning to. So good luck. Our prayers are with you guys. And I hope this comes out good for all. Thank you.
Harvey, you're muted. Sonny, you're muted.
Very quickly, we see a lot of videos on the YouTube in the US of Ukrainian assaults on Russian energy facilities. Is there any sense that there's significant damage being done to the Russian infrastructure, Ola?
Well, they, as already said by the previous speaker, Ukrainian attacks, they are aiming at strategic Russian military industrial complex, hubs, and their operations that support offensive. So every refinery is providing fuel to Russian jets and Russian tanks. And that's why they are legitimate military targets. Regarding the attacks on the gas infrastructure and the substations, those are also mostly attacks in those areas where the Russian military is operating, or where Russian military factories are located.
Okay, thank you for that. We're almost at the end here. We're going to wrap at the top. Dave Saltman, and then Tatanka, then Nicole and Donald, and we'll probably be done there. Dave, go ahead, please. David?
I just had a question, and if I missed this, my apologies. Who actually owns the facilities? Is it the government? Are they unions? Are they the workers? Is it a private business? How does that? Who are the owners?
You mean the nuclear power plants in Ukraine? They are state-owned. It's like a state corporation, which is like under reform, and it's like the remnants of this Soviet style of management.
So it's the Soviet government's remnant that owns it?
No, it is owned by the government.
Government of Ukraine?
Direct, yes.
Obviously.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But it has to be said that the energy sector besides nuclear is mostly privately owned. And this is a big problem due to corrupt Ukrainian oligarchs who have their control over huge chunk of energy systems. And also lots of them have been in this also Russian-induced corruption schemes for a very long time. And obviously they don't put the interests of the people forward. Yes, these are corporate entities to enrich very few individuals.
That's very interesting. Howie and then Tatanka.
Well, I just wanted to thank Dennis and Ola for staying up. It's
thank you guys
2
very much.
in Ukraine. The power's out. It's cold as hell. So, I just appreciate the fact that they came here. I just want to say one thing about how important fossil fuel sanctions are for, getting Russia to stop this war. They account, sale of oil, gas, and coal for Russia is about 40% of their federal revenues. And their military budget, the militarism in Russia is off the chart. It's about 40% of their budget. So oil, gas, and coal are paying for Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So, all we can do to tighten those sanctions is going to help the people in Ukraine.
And both of you, Dennis, and will you put your links in the chat so people can be in touch with you and support you? We appreciate it. Thank you, and thank you, Howie, for bringing them. Tatanka, Nicole, Donald, and we'll be done.
Yes. Also, thank you very much, Dennis and Ola and Howie, for bringing them. Are you aware, do you have any knowledge about during Trump's first run in 2015, 2016, when Rex Tillerson, he brought him into the administration. Before he was elected, about to go public was not a rumor, it was more than that, of a deal of Putin to sell the Russian National Petroleum Corporation, to sell to a partnership of 4 owners the entire Arctic Circle part inside Russia. And that one of the 4 owners was a group of people very, very close to all of Donald Trump's global investments. This was about to go public. The main problem was in order to extract the oil and the natural gas, which at that time was probably the world's largest known, was that they would have to melt the entire Arctic Circle. And I remember there being ads floated, of ships going over the North Pole. Oh, wasn't it was so wonderful to get rid of the ice? Not tied to that, but as it was about to come out, it completely dissolved and it never came out. Did you ever hear about that, or do you have any knowledge about that?
No, it doesn't seem.
Well, Exxon was considering. Well, Exxon had already cooperation with Rosneft and Lukoil, and they were actually giving the Russians the technology to drill in the Arctic. They had to back down, especially thanks to campaigns run by Greenpeace. And they were quite successful, but it was like 2012 or something with the Arctic 30. It was quite like famous thing. But I think what is the ultimate threat to the Arctic right now is Novatek and the LNG expansion plans. So Russia intends to increase exports of LNG 5 times in the next 10 years, or like 8 to 10 years. They aim to export 100 million tons of LNG from the Arctic, and actually that would be a death knell to climate, because if you produce that amount of gas, you leak a lot of it to the atmosphere, and the methane is 82 times more powerful than CO2 as a greenhouse gas.
Thank you so much, because it really seems that all the wars and everything going on, there is a collaboration going on, a far right circle and other circles with the extractive industries, with oil, gas, nuclear, right from the top, playing out in the United States, playing out in Ukraine, playing out in Venezuela, playing out everywhere.
Well, and also Trump killing.
I just want to hear their response to that.
Well, Trump is killing funding also for renewables, as he did today and yesterday, $83 billion worth. Dennis and then Sal, and then we're gonna sign off real quick with Donald and Nicole.
I haven't had a chance to speak yet.
Where are you? Who are you?
Nicole. This is Nicole.
Okay, go ahead, Nicole, real quick, please.
Yes. I have always believed that hitting Putin is the fastest way to get compliance. And the U.S. is very interested in critical minerals and in the nuclear reactor area. Can someone get the EU to draw a red line in saying that they will use the money impounded from the Russian oligarchy near that reactor again? And most importantly, can someone explain to the White House that if the reactors blow up, that whole area will be contaminated forever and out of reach
if those reactors
of U.S. companies,
if those reactors blow up,
and that are rich in critical minerals, the United States is willing to reduce the tariff, from China from 100 because of critical minerals. Okay. So it's very important.
You're absolutely right. Thank you, Nicole, for that. Donald, and then we're going to sign off. Dennis and Sala, again, thank you, Howie. This has been an amazing session. I guarantee you nobody else is doing this, and it's absolutely critical. Donald Smith, and then we're going to rock and roll here. Donald?
Okay. Hi. Putin is criminal. I'm no fan of Putin. But as Thomas Friedman said in the New York Times, the U.S. is far from innocent. The U.S. regards the entire world as its legitimate sphere of influence, where it bombs, invades, overthrows, does coups, and sanctions. The U.S. used Ukrainians as sacrificial pawns, as recommended by the Rand Corporation, which recommended arming Ukraine as the best way to weaken Russia. It said, oh yeah, it will cause a war, we'll just have to manage that war. John Mersheimer put it this way: the U.S. is leading Ukraine down the primrose path and it will get ruined. Kissinger said, to be an enemy of the U.S. is dangerous. To be a friend is deadly. So I feel very sorry for the Ukrainians. The CIA was involved in there since at least 2014, according to the New York Times and the Washington Post. The New Yorker said the CIA did a cover-up to hide what they did there. The U.S. armed the Azov battalion, as reported in mainstream media. There are scores of articles in mainstream media about the presence of Nazis in Ukraine. Numerous diplomats warned that expanding NATO would cause a war. The NED, the National Endowment, funded Razom, for example. I'm sorry to say. Victoria Nuland said, "F the EU, we're going to."
Donald, you got to cut you off. We can't have that, and we're pretty much at the end. Ola and Dennis, you want to say some last words, and Howie, and then we're going to rock and roll.
Well, I guess the entire proxy war narrative, it falls apart now when clearly Trump and Putin are building a new fascist axis, and they are aligning against humanity. So both of them are waging wars against smaller nations and ultimately against their own citizens as well. And also waging a war against humanity, a war against nature, a war against science. So it's quite important today for all those people who are resisting this in different manners, in different places, from Minnesota to Ukraine, from all other parts of the world, that we should be in this international solidarity. We should understand that our enemies are coming together. So we should also be supporting our vision for a better, more just, more environmentalist, and more equal, more humanist future for the planet and for all its inhabitants, people and animals as well.
Beautifully spoken, Dennis. Thank you very, very much. Ola, do you want to add in, and then Howie?
Yeah, so if you really want to get the first-hand information and really understand what's going on in Ukraine, please subscribe to us in the social media and LinkedIn, in Blue Sky. We're also present in Instagram. And please support independent media covering the situation in Ukraine, especially Euromaidan Press. They are doing tremendous work, and they really thing on resources. So every dollar, if you can donate to our media partners like Euromaidan Press, would be very appreciated. They have a patronage program, and if you can chip in, please support them. I really call on that. If you have any suggestions, or if you work with the US media, please contact me, and I would be happy to provide comments.
Please put your and come back in a couple of weeks. Absolutely, we want you back, both of you. And Howie, you get the last word here. Thank you.
Well, I would just say the only imperialist army in Ukraine attacking Ukraine is Russia's. The proxy war narrative really doesn't explain what's going on. And these brothers from Ukraine have explained they're not naive about Western or U.S. imperialism. They described how they've been fighting it, as well as Russian imperialism. And I think that narrative that it's just a proxy war leaves out the Ukrainians. They have their own agency, and everybody underestimates them. When the full-scale invasion began, Putin thought he'd take Ukraine in a few days, and the Americans thought so too. They offered Zelensky exile, and he said, I don't need a ride, I need arms. So don't underestimate the Ukrainians and listen to them. They're the ones right in the middle of this fight.
Well, I got to tell you, there's a word that keeps popping into my mind, which is Vietnam. And, it's not, obviously, it's not a jungle and it's a hell of a lot colder, but the resistance is, to my mind, very, very parallel. We wish you well, Ola, Dennis, Howie, thanks for this. Come back in a couple weeks, please, and we'll do an update. Everybody, this has been a phenomenal session. We still have 65 people with us, but it's time to go. There's so much more to talk about. The collapse of the Japanese yen, for one thing. Japan finally got a female leader, and she's to the right of Maggie Thatcher, for God's sakes. So we'll deal with that next week. Everybody, this has been phenomenal. Thank you. Next week, we'll have Ro Khanna to start. So no nukes, everybody. We'll see you in Solartopia. And good luck in Ukraine. We're really with you. Thank you so much.
And feel better, Sonny.
I'll feel better when I have a Trumpectomy. I think if everybody's not feeling well, we're all suffering from Trumpitis. So we need to have a removal here, kind of like an appendix or a tonsils. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. No nukes. Thank you, Steve, for engineering. MYLA, Mike, Tonka. No nukes, everybody.
Si se puede.